What's up, guys? Welcome to the Golfers Authority Behind the Golf Brand podcast. This week, I have my friend Stephen Mike from MULLIE, and I am super excited to talk about this because this thing's cool and it's going to be a game changer, literally, in this world. Nothing like this been out there, and I'm really excited to talk to him about kind of how they started it, how it works, and kind of the growth, the crazy growth they've had over the last year and a half. So, without further ado, welcome to the show.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
What's up, Paul? Thanks for having us, man.
We had some technical difficulties, mainly me.
We did.
So
I think we all had technical difficulties. We were on the wrong link. You guys were crackling, couldn't hear us. So we made it.
We made it. Yay. One time I had a guy on. We took us 4 tries because every time we talked for like 2 hours, and we never even recorded it because it was like about business and shit. I'm like, oh, we can't get this. Oh yeah, it's my numbers and all this stuff. I'm like, oh, we're not using this. So you guys are cousins, right?
Yep.
Not by choice.
Where'd you guys grow up at?
we're business partners and friends by choice, but cousins. I had no choice in the matter.
So how are you guys related? Is it like your parents? Like, are you first cousins, second cousins? Like, what are you?
I think technically it's second cousins. I think that's our parents are first cousins. I think that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So you're like one. So it's not like your dad is his uncle or something weird like that. It's more like one step to remove.
Nope.
We're off to a great start.
So how'd you guys? I mean, like, what's your guys' background before we begin talking about MULLIE? Like, what have you guys been doing before? Is this like your full-time gig, or is this kind of what you guys are doing right now and how you guys kind of got there?
Yeah, definitely a full-time effort on our end. I'm a career software guy, so I've been a software consultant my entire life, my entire professional life, I guess I should say. And as a transition that when Mike and I sort of came up with this idea and got some contours to it, transitioned that into spearheading the development of the MULLIE platform. So ran a couple of worked with some big 4 consulting companies, some small businesses, medium businesses, extra large businesses. So kind of got a good background and diverse experience set for how the world works and how to take a company from zero to global leader, and now implementing that stage by stage with MULLIE.
That's cool.
I mean, Paul, you got to tell me, man. Like, do the users care about the backstory? I don't know. The listeners care about the backstory. Yeah. So mine's a little different. I didn't have that kind of career path for me. I went to USC, University of Southern California, studied real estate finance, and I'm not sure if I'm the norm, but I got into corporate America right away, and I was like, I wanted to stab a nail in my foot every other day. And I always kind of had an entrepreneur spirit. Like, I was at school, at college, and I would go to trade shows with my dad, and I'd find these like gadgets or USC hats, and I'd go to the games and I'd sell them in the parking lots. So I always had this entrepreneurial bug. Yeah, I was always the kid trying to make $1, at a 10 cents. And when I had some ideas, because I did go corporate in the beginning, I went to a large publicly traded company doing garment licensing with like Target and Big Five and all those the big box retailers. And I just had some ideas, and my ideas would always get kiboshed and killed. And then I'd see the ideas happen by some competitor like years later. I'm like, see, not that I know everything, but
you saw it, right? You saw it, and they don't want to listen to you because corporate America, and you're like, oh, you're just a grunt.
Well, I was like 22, 23. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know who this is. I'm like, actually, I know who the soccer player is, and it's Cristiano Ronaldo, and you can't do it. Next thing I know, he has a. I told the story to my parents the other night. Anyway,
I want to hear the story. I want to hear the story. No, people like this stuff.
I'll make it really quick. So it was a licensing company, and you would take people's license, like their name and likeness, and license it to someone like a Tesco or a Target, Walmart, and they would because they do a lot of their own manufacturing. They would use their facilities to make the pieces of clothing or what have you, and they just stick the label on it and they create their own label. That's how the licensing world works. Anyway, I had an idea with Cristiano Ronaldo. He was still at Man U. This must have been 15 years ago, longer, and I had the idea because he was with Nike and his career was exploding. And I was like, let's do like something with like hats. And he goes, well, Nike owned hats. And I'm like, so we went down every single category. I did a lot of research. Anyway, I figured out Nike didn't do socks and underwear with him. So like, let's do that. They're like, no, they're going to eventually do it. You're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. This would never work. Fast forward some years later, Cristiano Ronaldo has his own, it's called CR7, a underwear and sock line out. So
It's his own line, right? It's like his line.
Well, his own
because
license, so it's like,
yeah.
Oh, I mean, that's just
crazy.
goes to show for anyone out there listening that has an entrepreneurial bug, you're never going to get it right the first time. And so sometimes corporate America and that industry, that world doesn't quite respect that spirit, because you got to put in your licks and put in your dues. That's at least my take on it. I'm by no means the end all be all, no power.
No, but you're right though, right? It's like there's a hierarchy, and like no one's listening to you when you're this level. It's like, oh, you're not a whatever. So, and it's like, yeah, but I know what's going on in the market. You don't like.
So
I've heard kind of had that. It's very common.
Yeah, I'll fast track the rest of my story to get to where we are now.
No, this is cool.
I just had that bug, and I had a mentor of mine, Seth Epstein, who kind of took me under his wing and said, okay, if you're not going to go corporate, like come work for me, do these things, and kind of like mentored me through the process of working for another startup, learn how to sell for them, then go, eventually kind of hop around, learn some different trades. And then I finally was able to kind of start my own business. It was called Lucid Appeal. It was a software as a service mobile tech company, mobile first company that I went out and I got the Lakers, the Clippers, the Washington Redskins, and Bubba Watson and a bunch of other people on my platform.
Holy crap!
This was 2013, right, Steve? I think like way back when. And just use that hustle to go sign these contracts, these people to my company, and then next thing you know, I ended up selling that business shortly thereafter, and I have everyone listening. I've had more failures than I've had success. That was my only success kind of story. I went on to do other kind of mobile first technology companies, and Steve was there helping me along the way, kind of as a coach, and saw like all the business mistakes I could have made as a young professional in my 20s, early 30s. I made, and then I think I learned a lot from that. And then one summer, and this is where it gets a kind of the emotional tie into MULLIE. One summer, I was just to be dead honest, I was so broke at like 33. I had no money. When I say no money, I mean like I could barely afford a $5 footlong from Subway. And I was selling everything I could. Sold watches, sold clothes. Finally, I got to my golf clubs. And I had, like I said, a year of golf clubs back in my garage in Los Angeles. And I think I was in Florida at the time. And I was like, I know those clubs, that set was worth like $3,000 or $2,500, like the limited edition, like baby blades. By the way, I was definitely not good enough to play them anyways. So I had to sell them. And then I had some Scotties, and I had some wedges. Anyway, I just put them all up on eBay. And, I think I sold the majority of my collection in like a few days or a week. And I got the invoice from eBay that I owed them 10% at the time. Now it's 12.5%. And I had to pay them out like $800 or $1,000. I'm like, wait, I need this money to live. That's when the light bulb kind of went off. I didn't go to GolfWorks or the other forums, because the forums, or just the usability, the technology wasn't there. It's like upload a photo, would crash half the time. You couldn't really respond to messaging that well.
That's like 20-year-old technology. Like, how many people are really on a forum? I know some people are, but I mean, a majority of consumers are not. Right? I would assume. Right. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah. So I know I'm talking a lot, so I'll just say that.
No,
that was
great. This is great, because people need to. This is the problem, right? The problem was, if you want to sell your golf gear, whatever that might be, you have really two options before you guys came along. You had eBay, or you had like an OfferUp or a Craigslist or some shit like that, right? Yeah. Like those are it. So you're talking about local. Maybe I've never sold anything on OfferUp and like mailed it, because I don't trust that. I don't think it would work. It's like selling something via Craigslist the same way. So like the safe way of really doing it is eBay, but like you said, eBay charges you 12%, right? Yeah. So I mean, it's a lot. Right. I mean, $100. No, what golf equipment's cheap? None of it is.
Well, so that was the concept, right? That was it. It was like the light bulb went off for me before I went to Steve, and Steve's miraculous, brilliant business brain helped to kind of connect all the dots that I was like, I don't know what to do. So I knew that golf equipment and gear, most of it was all high priced items. I know eBay, when it was founded back, I think in 95, 97, in that like, initial tech boom, the .com boom, it was like, it was intended for like knickknacks, garage sale items, like $5 stuff, $6 stuff that you would, and they have to take some money to pay for the server cost or whatever the overhead was. But in today's age, with all the tech trends and everything happening, I was like, I went to Steve and I was like, dude, we have something here. There's a kernel of an idea, and we put our brains together, partnered on this together, and next thing you know, 2-3 years later, we have MULLIE, which you see today. So I guess that's the.
No, that's cool. That's like the fruition of like how it all started, right? Like most guys that start a brand or a company, I always ask this question, like, are you guys golf pros, right? And most people are not. They're just like, no, we play golf, we're okay, but like we have an idea to make golf more fun or better or whatever it is. And I think that's fantastic because there was a need that nobody really thought like, hey, this isn't cool, right? Like they're just used to doing it this way. And like you're saying before, like around 2000, I had like the president of Global Golf on, right? And he said essentially when he started, he just bought up used clubs everywhere, right? Like because they were always the used clubs in the corner of a pro shop that like people traded in, and there was no market for it back then. And so he would buy it and he would sell it on eBay, and that's all he started doing, and like going around and building that whole structure out. So I think it's really fascinating.
Thank you. I think before I kind of turn it over to Steve to talk about what we're doing and how he got to his side of the business where it's at, I will say that we all know that I don't know how direct I want to be and start pissing people off, but we all know that the current environment in which we buy flawed, right? Like going into when I used to be a kid in Los Angeles and Santa Monica, shout out Roger Dunn for all the fun hours I would just waste in that store. But like going in there, right, and trading in my clubs, they give me $3, $4 for a pretty good wedge, or they give me $15 for a putter. They give me $100 for a whole set, and then they it's on the rack a day later.
Yeah, 3 times it, 4 times it,
100 times it. Like give me like it was so ridiculous. So
17 cents on the dollar is the number we came to.
17
what
cents
is it?
on the dollar.
17
really?
cents on the dollar. That's the number we worked backwards into. Yeah.
So for trade-ins, when you trade in stuff, they're giving you some, whatever.
Yeah.
And then, so it was that. Well, so that was one part of my brain. And the other part of my brain is at the time there was the rise of what we call social commerce, and Poshmark, Depop, Grailed, Reverb, all these social commerce communities started to pop up about 3, 4, 5 years ago, and it was an evolution of online shopping, right? It was of e-commerce, where we took the power out of the big box and gave it to individual sellers because the secondhand market was starting to explode or exploding, and then everybody wanted to get off eBay. Everyone had the same kind of idea where I want to operate in a vacuum. I want to operate and sell and communicate and transact with my peers, not the managing company. And I think we were watching that happen, and Grailed was a huge influence on me. And how we designed and really kind of came up with MULLIE. But we also have now in 2.0 and our new features coming out, there's a lot of MULLIE unique one-off development happening. But yeah, I think between social commerce and seeing the breakdown in real time, the timing of MULLIE and how we came about this was pretty serendipitous, I will say.
Well, I think it's cool because it's forward thinking, right? You saw this we've seen this in other industries, right? Or whatever you want to call it. And no one's been doing it in golf. And you kind of ask yourself why, right? Because is there any, so someone new had to come into the space essentially, because the old status quo is not going to change what they're doing, especially if they're making huge margins on their, trade in or whatever they're doing. So I mean, I think it's cool because like my wife uses those other apps, right? I mean, it's kind of an everyday thing now, but like dudes don't. I mean, dudes that play golf, like, oh yeah, like with their golf equipment, like, what are they gonna do, right? Like, oh, I can trade it in. I could have a garage sale, which like really nobody does anymore, or I can go try to do OfferUp or Craigslist, or I can go to Goodwill and drop them off because I don't think they're worth anything. Like that's the options, and now it's like you're making it so it's a lot easier. So I guess Steve, so when Mikey had this idea, right, were you like, I'm down, like this is cool, we can build this out, or like what happened?
Well, yeah, we actually had a great question. On your prior point, I'll come back to this in a minute, but on the prior conversation about why these other social commerce companies work is because they took a hyper passionate community and focused it, right? These guys were everywhere. They were all over websites, scouring forums, scouring blogs, like finding the items that they really liked. And these companies came along and said, "Oh, let's just bring all that here.
Let's just centralize it."
Yeah, centralize. And I think golf is the same way. The reason, for a couple of reasons, but I think the reason it hasn't happened in golf yet and wouldn't happen in golf for a while if it was up to us, is because of who the traditional golfer demographic is, right? So golf as a whole is usually for older, more well-off people. That's changing. I mean, radically changing very quickly. Like, I mean, I don't know if you guys know this, but COVID brought more people to golf than Tiger Woods. So think about that for a minute. by a significant chunk. And all of those people who are doing it in COVID are all over the map in terms of demographic, age, net worth,
everything, literally everything.
Yeah, they've created like golf is like this kaleidoscope of audiences right now. That toy when you were a kid, you look through it, it would explode whatever image you were looking at. That's what golf is. Everybody's a different piece of that kaleidoscope. It's pretty crazy. Anyway, so I think it would have taken golf a long time to do it if it wasn't for Mike's entrepreneurialism and my tech background, and our age bracket, just to be straight up to say like, hey, look, we're here for the next generation of golf. In any event, in terms of the kernel of the idea, yeah, it was good. Used clubs is tricky because of PGA price guides and all these OEMs have established their own programs. The Dick's Sporting Goods and Carl's Golfland and Roger Dunn's, they've all got trade-in programs. They use this PGA price guide. So how do you kind of disrupt that? Mike and I had a conversation early on about the movie Half Baked. We likened MULLIE with our like initial business model. I don't know if you guys remember that movie, but the actor in that movie is like, I've got this great idea. Do you remember 8-minute abs? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I got 7-minute abs. And that was kind of the kernel of the business model. Let's just be cheaper than eBay and people will come to us. And, I think we realized pretty quickly, thanks to Half Baked, how flawed that business model was. And we kind of broadened our perspective to, how are people shopping now?
Like you have to be radically different, right? Because if you're just a little bit different, like they have the complete market share. So it's like that little bit's not going to move them at all, right?
Like they're used to golfer.
Yeah, like it has to be. I mean, that's really good for people in business too, to understand that like you can't just be a little bit better. Like that doesn't work, right? Unless you're selling like widgets, like, and you have A and B widget, yeah, you might be able to sell the widget for like less. But if you're trying to make a whole new platform, like that's hard, right? I mean, so was like your original version, was it like the 7-minute abs essentially?
It was 7-minute abs.
Was it?
Yeah, I think that was even the build name inside the software, 7-minute.
V1 7-minute abs.
I mean, it took us a long time to get to where we are now. Let's just put that out there. Like what people see today was not what we had even a year ago.
It's a lot of time and money to build out an app and a functionality. It's like I couldn't even imagine.
It is. And then, I mean, we started off with, a couple $1,000s and we bought a mostly built e-commerce platform we were going to customize. And, we spent almost a year on that, put it out in a very limited fashion. And it was just total shit.
Did it break down or just didn't do what you wanted to? And you had to add all these bolt-ons to it.
Both. We never even got to the bolt-on stage because COVID hit. And our developers were overseas in India for the first iteration of this. Because we were, outsourcing the whole thing, and thank God for COVID. I don't mean that in the societal way, but for our business.
Man, you're going really.
Wow.
It really.
He's gone from both ends. He's like, COVID's awesome because of golf, but COVID sucked for this other reason. Just kidding.
I got to see the whole. He's
in the middle. He's right in the middle, though. He's giving you both ends of the book.
Yeah.
Now you see what I deal with on a day-to-day basis, guys. Come on, this is it.
He's probably got 6-minute abs.
5-minute abs.
I got an idea. Value with 3.5-minute abs.
Sold. I'll buy that right now.
Yeah, but anyway, then COVID took out our dev team, and it really forced Mike and I to pause and reset and say, "Look,
you're like, no, but literally it did."
No, it did not. Thankfully, no, nothing like that. But they all went down with illness or whatever.
Yeah, then it gave you a minute to pause, right? And you're like, okay, wait a minute, what are we really doing here?
Yeah, and then we found a dev team, onshore and here in the U.S. and have built that out now, and they're just kicking ass and taking names. The tech.
But when you So in 2016 you said, or was it 17 was when you started, like V1?
Late 2019 was technically like the impetus, the founding of MULLIE, the corporation.
The release, yeah.
We didn't get the release out until like mid 2020, I want to say, maybe early March, April, like literally right when COVID hit, it got out, and you're like, this is all broken, and they're like, hey, we just shut down the whole country, we're not doing anything, and it was like, all right, well, I guess that's that. And then once we kind of got into the operating rhythm, the whole world did, and how to work in a pandemic. We had already iterated through the initial platform and come up with more of the social commerce, community building. Let's make this free and give power back to the golfers. And, through differentiated offerings we have coming down the pipe, like Mike said, brand alliances with some of the brands we've worked with already and are targeting to work with. that will bring cool, new and unique product to the golf community. And beyond the utility of the platform, that will be a big draw, I think, for people.
It's really cool. I don't want to talk about it quite yet, but it's really cool. So
I do have to say before we go on from that, I just want to say for any entrepreneur listening, because I know Steve and I both share this mindset and a passion to create. I think him and I are both creators, even in different worlds, different career paths, right? He's always created his element. I've always created my element. No matter what, though, for anyone out there that wants to create or wants to start something, there's a quote by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, I don't know how to pronounce his name correctly, but I'll never forget this because one of my mentors always like really branded in my brain. Whatever you can do or dream, just begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. I'll never forget that, because too many entrepreneurs think and try and map out the entire plan from A to Z. And I think Steve and I knew we couldn't do that. It was get on the playing field and go. You can't coach your way to victory. You have to get on the playing field, go, move, iterate, go, be fast, be quick, and learn on the fly.
Break it. Fail, break. Yeah, that's how you build it. Like
that's what we did, though. I mean, that's literally what we did from our MVP product to version 1, version 1.1, version 2. Like it's just been so much breaking and iterating and I think if anybody out there could see what we had to go through, it looks like just a beautiful train wreck in a way, but it's beautiful because we adapt so quickly and we work so well together as a team, and our team behind us works well with us and we communicate well. So I think I just want to have that footnote for anyone listening that wants to have an idea. Just start, because truly there's so much magic in learning and when you just start and stop to think and plan. So
yeah, sometimes you almost can't think, right? You gotta you have the idea and you need to run with it, and then don't think it all the way through because it's not gonna work. What you think's gonna happen is not gonna. It'll come about through evolution of the product or whatever you're trying to build. I mean, it's so very true, right? Like anybody, I think. What does this say? This is paralysis by analysis, right? That's we've done that in law school. It was the same thing. It's you gotta just do it, right, and see what happens and test the water. And I don't know. I think that's why it's cool about bringing guys on like you on the show, because it's you get it, right? And a real entrepreneur, you have to live this life. If you don't, then go back to your cubicle. I mean, I don't know.
And I will say. Yeah, I will say getting a co-founder or getting a partner like Steve or anyone that complements your skill set is highly beneficial and extremely valuable, because I think in my world, I would have moved so fast. I wouldn't have iterated appropriately. I wouldn't have actually looked at the signs to calculate what happened to really make a better fix and a better change. And I can't speak for Steve, but I'm sure that my ambition and my passion to go, whereas he's a meticulous planner and I'm a little bit, zealous in my approach to things. I think when you combine those speeds, you really balance each other out to do things where his ability to dissect and to produce and to look at things and move with a calculated effort and it's so valuable.
It's
so
your yin yang, right? It's seriously. And the coolest thing though is that you guys were, you're related, but that's different. But you were friends before any of this, right? It was almost okay, well, we're friends. We already know we do well together. We both have our own skill set. Let's just try it, right? And if it was 2 Mikes or 2 Steves, it would never have worked, right? And they don't live by each other either, so that's a nice thing too.
Yeah, I will say, man, I don't think I've ever told you this. I'm looking at Steve now. Dude, if we didn't have that 9th hole experience in Delaware, I don't know if we would have been here.
No, we would not have that. That was a
okay. Now you're doing side stories.
Yeah.
What happened at 9th hole? I want to know.
Train wreck.
Oh my God.
You open that up, so I want to know.
This is on me. Just being a petty jerk off, if I can say that here.
No, we're getting FCC my stuff in.
This is recorded now, so I have it on record. Yes.
No, I told the story this week.
You're I have that clip for later. I'm oh yeah, Chuck. I'll do it. I'll do a meme out of it.
Give me that clip.
Yeah. I told the story this weekend at the PGA. We were out there doing an activation with Wilson all week, and that we were talking to our Wilson contact, and Mike brought this up then too. I think he really likes to relive this because he knows I was the petty one, and at this point. Long and short of it, Mike and I, we've known each other for a long time. I don't think we really met until I was probably 15 or 16, which would have made Mike 12 or 13 maybe. But we bonded.
Mike was 5.
Yeah, no. But we bonded over golf. It was one of the first things we did. I was new to the game. He grew up playing, with his dad out in LA. And, we kind of bonded over golf. And every year or so, I would make a trip out there and we'd play and hang out. And, that kind of, elevated throughout the college years. But as Mike said, there's when he did this about our relationship, it's if we couldn't communicate, the yin and yang thing wouldn't work. And if we didn't give each other the space to be each other, the yin and the yang thing wouldn't work. But to get back to that, mid 20s Steve, early 20s Mike, it's probably where we were at that point. We were both super just frustrated with each other. We're both type A in different ways and just banging heads. And on top of that, we're at a competitive golf tournament that we did every year.
And I was kicking his ass
with a bunch of buddies. I'm getting there. Just going.
Okay. Was he really pissed? Was Steve losing his shit?
He had already pissed me off. He was already, being a childish SOB. I don't, you know what I mean? In so many ways, at least from my 25-year-old vantage point. And
because the age difference means a lot too.
It does. But also, I was 25, and that's going to be heavily. This story is all about me being a baby, also. Anyway, so he is tuning me up in this golf tournament. He's on the other team. I must be like 6 down through 8, and I'm just getting absolutely crushed. And we're playing a hole or whatever, and he hits one tight, and I'm off to the right or whatever. And he walks up to the green just to tap it in to keep the match going, and he hits the pin. This was obviously pre-COVID, and I call a 2-stroke penalty on him for hitting the pin. I'm like, hey, bro, you can't do that. 2-stroke penalty. I'm going to win this hole. This is going to be the start of my comeback. And he loses his ever-loving mind.
I was like, are you kidding me right now?
Are you effing kidding me?
This is for friends. It was 2 feet. Come on.
He's 100% right.
I know in the moment. It's the rules. I'm like,
I know in the moment he's 100% right. I'm yelling. I'm like, are you just so lazy you can't take out? I am poking this bear with everything I've got. Long story short, Mike in his 21-year-oldness walks off the golf course, never to be seen again. I'm going home. I'm like, you can walk home to California. I don't care.
You guys went to the tournament together?
We were playing each other, but it was like a buddy's trip.
Yeah, it was one of those buddies trips. Yeah.
Oh,
so I find him in the pro shop, and he's sitting there, and he's upset, and I'm obviously I've cooled off. I'm really upset, and it leads to this 2-hour conversation of us blubbering in the lobby of this one golf course next to the restaurant, just talking out all the BS that exists between us. And if it wasn't for that breakdown, there's no way we would have had the communication ability to start a business.
Well, you really bonded, right? You connected at that point because it was more than just two egos. Right?
Because Paul, I'll tell you, man, we don't. I don't think we've ever come to that kind of disargument ever since then. But we absolutely, I think it's healthy to to debate with your business partner or your partner, any good friend. I think it's healthy to have a conflict of opinion. And Steve and I do this almost every single day, but we know there's so much respect and so much love that we always kind of if it's a difference and there's no resolution. Okay, we agree that we disagree, and we at least shake hands and have a virtual handshake and move on. There's no animosity, and I think that's
there's
the
no
hardest
fear, right? That's the thing. There's no fear that what's gonna happen. That line there's no line that's way over here, right? And you'll never cross that line. Whoa, F you, I'm done, I'm out, or I'm not gonna whatever. It's more we can be who we really are and talk about whatever the problem is. And that's huge, right? In a partnership, because that's probably 99% of the problems of why these things fail, right?
We've had those too. I mean, there have been times where Mike and I have looked at each other and said, through this journey of trying, failing, what's next? Where do we go? We've looked at each other and said, we at this point want wholly different things for what MULLIE can be. If this genuinely is what you want and there's no compromise on your end or on my end, maybe this isn't the best partnership. And we took our break and came back and said, you know what, there's this other way, something would happen. And we'd be like, oh my God, this is so clear. Neither of us were right. Let's both move together on in this one direction. So it's been kind of fated in that way. We've had a lot of just random things happen to us when they needed to happen.
Yeah.
So then after that though, you guys were just living your lives, still your friends and whatever, but now it's 15 years later, or not 15, 10 years later, and now you have this idea of hey, we could actually build something that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So then, all right, so you have the initial idea for MULLIE, and then it goes live when? V1 went live when? In 20?
V1 and
21.
The current iteration went live just after Thanksgiving in 2021.
In 2021. Okay. So then what initial features did that have? So we kind of explain to the listeners like how it kind of evolved.
All the what I would call core commerce features. So you could buy, you could sell. There's a discovery tab we built in like a feed. You could follow other users.
Make offers.
Yeah, make offers. Link up your PayPal address. So it's sort of like the beginnings of like the social fabric of who are you? You've got cool stuff. Let me follow you. So when you post something new that's cool, let me get alerted. I can go in and check it out. In addition to being able to buy and sell your own stuff, all fee free. I don't think we've said that yet. Like we take 0% of your sale.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about how MULLIE works right now. So what is I guess kind of explain to the listener like the concept of MULLIE and how it works and why, and then the why they should use it.
Go ahead, Mikey. Oh, you want me to do it? No, you go.
We'll trade off. I think so. Going back to the reason why I wanted to start this, we had the idea with Steve is to really the fees were just frustrating, for lack of a better word. So when we put our heads together, do we go 2%? Do we go 5%? We're like, you know what? The everyday golfer shouldn't be paying fees. Like there's other ways to monetize a platform. So I think when we subscribe to that thought and to that business model, anyone with we'll call it just a MULLIE profile can log on right now, set up, and start selling, buying, exploring, searching, everything you can do pretty much on any commerce site. But I think with the social fabric that we have developed and we're starting to weave into everything, right? So, and there's a big update coming in the coming months where we're leaning heavily on social. Some of the behavior we learned from Instagram and early days in Facebook, like there's an activity that's happening that people are doing, that they're conducting, that other people are kind of curious about. So it goes beyond just like what someone shot on the golf course. I think that's a fun information to have. But like, what did Steve just buy? What did he just share? What did he like? What did Paul just list? And what are people commenting on that listing? Oh my God, my dad had these. This is the first thing, my first set of hand-me-downs. Like, so there's a lot of that's happening that you obviously cannot do on eBay. That we are rolling out. Yeah. We are rolling out shortly. So I think when we say social commerce, MULLIE is more than just buying and selling. It's connecting with people in the golf world. It's discovering people that have the stuff that you had when you were a kid. I think, and golf being a social sport, we really wanted to make this experience of buying and selling extremely social. So I'll leave that in here.
Also discovering, discovery is a big tenet of our platform, but also discovering brands. The Nikes, Adidas, Malbons, like everybody knows those guys. Yeah, exactly. They've got massive social media followings, and you can get on the hype train if you want. But I think what we've noticed in the first couple of months of the platform, beyond the regular golfer coming in to upcycle their items, if you will, sell their old stuff to get new stuff, or relive some youth. I've certainly got a couple of those pieces I've picked up on the platform. Is these brands, like these guys, these men and women in their garages are like hand knitting head covers, and they bought stitching machines and they're creating unique designs on hats. Like they're really cool. T-shirts, I mean, polos, pullovers, like
the creativity is like through the roof, and like
it's astronomical.
And they get pushed down on Instagram, right? Because they're not. I mean, it's impossible to get followers, right? And then budget. It's like, and they don't exactly. And it's like they I mean, I love. Like I look at certain guys, I love like their stuff. Like I had Kraken on, Kraken Golf, Jeff Concordia, dude. Mm-hmm. Like that. I saw him 5 years ago, and I was like, "This is some cool ass stuff." And now he's like big, and I'm like, the talent that's out there that gets pushed down because the algorithm doesn't like it, or it doesn't. I don't know. You don't play the game, like it's crappy, right? Yep. Like, So I mean, that's a lot of guys are coming in then that way too, right?
Yeah, look, I think their value, the value they see in us is we assemble the audience, right? We've got a good social media following. We're out there doing live engagement with people. We're making people aware that this alternative exists, and they're going to come because they can get stuff. They can get different stuff, new stuff, better stuff for less money, and connect with their golf community at the same time. Like we're basically centralizing your non-playing golf life into our platform, which we think is super cool and people will appreciate, because right now
also the collectors, right? The collectors that are out there that like who like powder head covers.
I got to say, to piggyback off that. Well, look at this head collection. To piggyback off what Steve said too, and earlier he said, Tiger brought 4-point-something million people to the game. I'm included in that.
Me too. I remember watching it in my dorm room. Like when he first won it, I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, I was on my dad's couch watching when he won the 79 Masters and 97 Masters. Sorry, excuse me. And then from there, COVID brought, what was it, 6-point-something million?
6.2 million. Yeah.
So what's happening with golf right now is so cool in my eyes. And we often make the analogy. It's like skateboarding in the 90s. Skateboarding was once this very cult little thing, like a very, very focused community that started to grow and become cool. Golf, same thing. When I played high school golf, I was laughed at going leaving school at 10 a.m. going to a match. Now people are there's like a wait list, like a tryouts to get on high school golf teams because how cool.
Oh
golf
yeah,
is.
they can't get on. Yeah.
So seeing that, and with that growth, that we are seeing. It's not just golf brands becoming golf brands. Like, for example, Crackit, it's golf equipment stuff like divot tools and cool ball markers. There are now just like apparel companies with like graphic tees for golf,
Yep.
And we are seeing, shout out to Super Swings, who's committed to working on MULLIE and selling on MULLIE because he has a lot of success on MULLIE. He's going to thrift shops or going to OfferUp and finding these really great grail items like vintage Nike blades, refurbishing them, polishing them up, putting different ferrules on them and shafting them up and putting them on MULLIE. It's an entire pop culture movement now. So, and I could go on and on about this topic, but
it's
I think
art,
people
right?
are coming
Too. I mean, you can think about it. Like that's one thing that's really kind of doing well on Instagram for the last couple of years, like the art of golf, right? The sick ass, head cut, on the back of a blade, they do some cool ass design, not just hammering and but more like laser etching and like it's crazy cool, and you're like, holy crap, how do they do that, right?
Well, I think to Steve, I don't want Steve to talk to this because it was his breakthrough. Like, there's so many personalities in golf now. Like before, when I played, there was like that one personality, like the young Tiger wannabe, right?
Yeah,
playing
the old white guy,
right?
Like
the old white guy. That's exactly right. But now there's so many personalities coming to golf. Whether you're a fan of Bogey Boys and Macklemore and hip hop influence, or you're a fan of whomever it may be, but there's so many personalities coming that don't fit into a worldwide golf shop, right?
Yeah.
So there's no mold.
Yeah.
So
there was a mold before, right?
Where do they go shop now? Where are they going to go shop now? We were aspiring to be that shop for everyone. And Steve came up with the tagline. What was it, Stevie? I'm gonna go ahead.
So it's come and play as you are.
That's cool.
I think
that's a good one. I like that.
Is how we're thinking about it. So just come to MULLIE, come play golf. Just like play as you are. It doesn't matter where you're from, what you look like, right?
I went to my buddy's golf course like a year ago to shoot some content, and like I had shorts on, like regular shorts and a t-shirt, right? But it's like he's like, "What are you wearing?" And I'm like, "What I would wear in my videos." And he's like, "You can't wear that here." I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And I'm like, "This isn't a private." I'm like, "This is not even a private course."
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, it's semi-private." I'm like, "Bullshit! They pay a freaking fee to like play." So guess what I had to go do? He wouldn't let me get on the course and shoot my material. I had to go spend $200 in the pro shop, and we're like, pants that didn't fit, a big ass Adidas polo shirt that I would never buy. It was like whatever they had, and I was like, "Well, I already drove 2 hours to film."
This is our mold. You got to fit the mold. And that's
exactly. I thought he was kidding, but there really is still a mold out there at certain places. And I was like, come on, man. Like, for reals. So, I think I enjoy that too, because I look at brands like Rada Golf. Like, they came out like 3-4 years ago, and I was like one of the first brands I worked with. And I'm like, this is cool as hell. Like, it's like so opposite of golf, but it's like, I don't know. And you see it a lot in California too, in the whole like Southern California scene, where it's, it's almost like that's a kind of the epicenter of a lot of it, like the small the social clubs and the I don't know, I think that's cool.
I think if I could fast forward and look into a crystal ball and see a year from now, like where we would be, it's going to be we are a pro shop for everyone, right? Like, you go into a pro shop right now that you just maybe not be able to find what you need. And this is Steve's breakthrough. I think that's kind of who MULLIE is. We are agnostic to every brand, every being, every person. And I think the more we can cater to everyone is our value proposition.
So
all are welcome.
So where can people find MULLIE? Like, how can they get MULLIE and check it out?
Yeah, App Store, Apple or Android. So it's MULLIE, MULLIE. We'll come up. We've got some pretty great ratings from some pretty committed community members who really like what we're doing. Like I said, the tech is slick, and we push updates like every other week or so, with some bigger features coming probably late summer. So
I know we only got a couple more minutes real quick, and I wanted to ask this question because when I talked to you guys originally, you said you were going to the PGA event this past weekend. So, and you're really excited by it, but you couldn't tell me much about it. So what happened? Like, what's kind of going on with that?
Yeah, I'm up there. I will say we've been blessed to have some relationships at Wilson and Wilson Golf who believe in our mission to grow the game in the way that we're growing it. And they are, I don't think it's arguable, I think it's a fact. They are the oldest they're the oldest equipment sport company there is on the planet, working with Babe Ruth in baseball. For them to come to us and say, hey, we like what you're doing. Let's do something together and start to enroll this next generation. We went to Tulsa with them and was able to set up like I guess it was like a pop-up shop / driving range challenge at the local, it's like their version of Top Golf. I use the air quotes. It's called Golf Suites in Tulsa. And we were able to attract thousands of golfers that maybe that aren't like the typical old white golfer, and get some golf clubs in their hands. We had long drive contests, close to the pin contest, putting contests. And I'm telling you, when we had every walk of life out there, I mean, every walk of life out there, getting introduced to golf in a way that they've never been introduced to it before, and experiencing mulling how to shop. And I think for me, I can't speak for Steve, seeing that those breakthroughs in the eyes of kids light up, it is the fuel that fuels this mulli train for me.
I'll only add to that and say, I was really amazed. A large portion of golf is like entertainment golf. It's off-course golf is what they call it. I want to say it's like 45% of golfers in the U.S. have never stepped foot on a golf course. They're all doing this simulated stuff. Yeah, it's crazy. What a conversion!
The simulator market's blowing up like crazy.
It is. Crazy, I mean, you can do it at a bar. You can do it in your living room. You can go to a driving range. You can do it at
your garage. You can
anywhere you want. You can play golf
inside your house.
But people dress for golf, like what they think is cool for, and it was all different. I mean, that was like sort of the kaleidoscopic moment. Was like, holy cow! Like, teenager is dressing different than dad, is dressing different than mom, is dressing different than sister. Like, and it's all golf gear. Like, it's all accepted golf gear now. So I think that was the aha moment to say,
it's not a red polo with a polo horse and like brown khakis.
Definitely not. I mean, the number of like Nike Blazers I saw out there, Yeezys, like people just mashing golf balls 280, 290, all just doing great.
And the thread that goes through it all, and this is my last comment, and then we can wrap, is that when they get over the golf ball, they're all making the same kind of move. They all have the same kind of concentration. They'll have the same kind of respect. They'll have the same kind of golf that has this good vibration that no matter what you look like, where you come from, your background, the problems, your way you dress, it has that vibration that once you get over that ball and once you get over into the zone, we're all the same. And that's the coolest thing.
That's what I love about golf, right? You go play, you might play by yourself, and you play with 3 other dudes you don't even know. And by the time you're done playing 18, you guys are all best friends, right? Yes. It's like you go on an adventure together, essentially, and nobody cares about how good you are. It's like we're all talking crap to each other by the 3rd hole. It's like, I don't think that's what kind of makes the game special for me, at least, is that like it's not inclusive anymore, right? It's like, everybody can kind of be included and everything's cool, and well, I think it's cool what you guys are doing personally, because no one's doing it. I like the idea, like there's no fees, so it's like, that's brilliant. Number one, I feel like you kind of hit the vein of what the problem's been for probably like the next iteration of how to get new gear or trade, or like other people, or just a community built around it without having to fish around a million places and forums. And the simplicity of the app is awesome. I think it's cool. I mean, I think you're like, in 2 years from now, everyone's gonna know who MULLIE is, in my opinion, because I have that app. I use that app. Oh yeah, I buy my stuff through there, right? Like, and no one's doing it. I think it's really cool what you guys are doing. So
thank you, Paul. I appreciate that.
Big kudos. And so again, if you guys want to check it out, just check it out on the app stores, whether you use Apple or Android, and test it out. I mean, it's not gonna cost you any money, and you're probably gonna like it right away. And like I said, they're always adding new features to it too. So be sure to check out MULLIE, and thanks for being on the show today. And I'll see you guys all in the next episode.